Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Students, hope so you all are good, fine, and healthy. Well, in the previous section, we have learned about the coordination action, but today we are going to discuss about the basic unit of the nervous system. Well, basically, the human nervous system is made. There are two parts of the human nervous system. One is the central nervous system, which is made up of brain and the spinal cord, while other is the peripheral nervous system. The peripheral nervous system is basically the network of the neuron that is arising from the central nervous system, that is a brain or the spinal cord, and it is used to cover the whole body. This peripheral nervous system with the central nervous system, the basic unit is the neuron. Might you all know about the nerve cells? Inshallah, in this session we are going to learn in detail about the structure of the nerve cell or the neuron. Basically, the neurons are basically used to pass the nerve impulse. They used to transmit the nerve impulse. A nerve impulse used to travel. The central nervous system is also made up of the nervous cells as well as the neuroglia. Neuroglia are basically the helping nerve cells. If you are going to touch any kind of the hot object, then abruptly you are going to take your hand away. How this come? Basically, this happens by sending the message. So, we are going to discuss that how the nerve cells is doing this. Basically, the nerve cell is the one which used to receive the message from the receptor and send it to the coordinator. And then from the coordinator, it used to send factor. Basically, this is the structure of the nerve cell. The nerve cell, the most of the cytoplasm and the nucleus is present in the cell body. The nucleus and the cytoplasm, mostly the nucleus and the most of the cytoplasm used to present in a cell body. While there are many processes which are actually extending out from the cell body, you can see from here. These all are the processes which are actually leaving or coming out from the cell body. The smaller processing, this is known as the dendrites. These are known as the dendrites. Basically, the dendrites used to receive the message from the, you can say from the receptor towards the cell body. The dendrite used to carry the message from the receptors towards the cell body. An axon is the long extension or process which used to take the message away from the cell body. So students, did you get that the dendrites are the one which used to receive the message and will take the message towards the cell body, and the axon is the one which used to take the message away from the cell body. Basically, on the axon there are the Schwann cell. The Schwann cells. These are basically the Schwann cells. The Schwann cells are the neuroglia cells. The neuroglia cell, as I told you before, that they are the helping cells. Helping cells of the neuron. The Schwann are basically the neuroglia cells that are present with the regular interval on the axon. Basically, students, we are going to look at here, then this yellowish color is basically the axon, and these are the Schwann cells which are on the axon with the regular interval. So, this is the axon, and the Schwann cells are basically present on the axon cells. These Schwann cells are present with the regular interval on the axons, and sometimes when the Schwann cells used to produce a fatty layer, then this is known as a myelin sheet. An axon sometimes used to produce a fat or the fatty layer around them, and this is known as a myelin sheet. Between the area of the myelinated sheets, there is a part known as the non-myelin. The myelin sheet is present in the Schwann cell. There are some areas where there is no myelin sheet, and the area where no myelin sheet A non-myelin part of the axon is known as the node of Ranvier. Basically, students, the axon used to cover with the regular interval of the cell that is known as a Schwann cell. In some neurons, it happens that the Schwann cell used to produce the fats, and these fats are basically known as the myelin sheath. They are at the area where there is no fat present, and there is no, you can say, the myelin sheath is present, and this is known as the non-myelinated part of the axon is known as a node of Ranvier. In such neuron cells where the myelin sheath is present, then in that case the nerve impulse used to transmit through the node of Ranvier. Basically, students, you know that the myelin sheath is made up of fat, and fat is basically the insulator. Then, if a fat is an insulator and myelin sheath is present, then how the nerve is basically passing through? Now, in that case, when the dendrite used to send the message to the cell body, then the cell body used to transfer the message to the axon, and in that case, the message used to transfer by jumping over the myelin sheath, and from node to node, the message used to jump or transmit from node to node, Ranvier node to node. The message used to jump over the myelinated part and then used to travel from node to node. Because the myelin sheet is basically an insulator, and it is not going to conduct the message. So that's why message will transfer from node to node. They will jump over this, you can say, myelin sheet, and such is known as basically the jumping of the message from node to node is known as the saltatory. Saltatory is known as a jumping nerve. This jumping nerve will be known as a saltatory, and it will increase the speed. The movement of the message from node to node, and jump over the myelin sheet is known as a saltatory, and it used to basically increase the speed of the nerve impulse. Basically, students, the nerve cell is of three types: the sensory nerve cell. The sensory nerve cells used to carry the message from the sensory organ. It used to carry the message from the sensory organ and send it to the central nervous system. As you know that it is actually carrying the message from the sensory organ like eye, ear, nose, skin, tongue, and used to send the message to the central nervous system like brain or the spinal cord. So it have one dendrite. It have the one dendrite and one axon. The sensory organ, the sensory nerve, which used to carry the message from the sensory organ and send message to the central nervous system, will have only one dendrite and will have only one axon. While the other type of the nerve cell is basically the interneuron. The interneuron is basically present in the brain and the spinal cord. This basically used to receive the message from the sensory nerve and used to interpret and send the message to the motor neuron or motor nerve. It used to stimulate, activate, or send a nerve impulse to the motor nerve cell. or the motor neuron. So basically students, we have learned that about the interneuron that is present in the brain or the spinal cord. It used to receive the message from the sensory nerve and then used to interpret that sensory nerve and then used to send the message to the motor neuron. On the basis of this, it have many dendrites. It has this kind of the nerve cell have many dendrites and have many axons. Because it is receiving the message from the sensory neuron and used to interpret that and then stimulate the nerve and send the message towards the nerve, towards the motor neuron. So such kind of the interneuron nerves have many dendrites and many axons. And the third type is the motor neuron or motor nerve cell. The motor nerve cells used to receive the message from the interneuron and will send to the effector. The effector could be the muscle or it could be the gland. So if it's come on the motor neuron, that it used to carry the message from the interneuron and send it to the effector, or effector could be the muscle or the gland. Now, what is basically how a structure would be look alike? A structure, if we are going to discuss a structure, then it would have many dendrites. Such kind of the motor neurons will have many dendrites but one axon. Hope so student you get the lecture and you have enjoyed this. Please, if anything is not clear, then watch the video again. Inshallah ta'ala, you are going to get a positive response. Make the notes and make the audios so that you are going to get more clearly. Watch the video again and again until unless you are not going to clarify your everything. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.